Are you ready to go?
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
hear that? Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up.
Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. In the first hour, we talked about a television show called The Black Mirror. It's a chilling show off Channel 4 in England that deals with how technology can really screw you up and how it can be very frightening to live in this technological world. And if you want to know some of the plot lines or the plot ideas from the show, just listen to the first hour on SoundCloud. I don't want to go into it again because it's a long, drawn-out process to talk about something that's it's frightening and sickening and kind of bizarre, but it really certainly is a chilling thing to watch. And as I said earlier, I go any more television, movies, radio, things like that. A lot of jarring things now on television. I mean, if you're not watching The Walking Dead and seeing, zombies' heads being blown off, all the time, if you're not, listening to music that has some sort of a satanic or some sort of scary undertone to it, there are things that are subliminal, some things that are even innocuous, that if you pay attention, you can say, wow, that seems pretty scary. It's pretty scary to me. And as I said, as I was winding up this last hour, I can tell you that the first real exposure I had to anything that would be considered, I guess, satanic or bizarre was when I was a kid and I watched the Disney cartoon Fantasia. And the Chernabog appears in the segment A Night on Bald Mountain. And if you read about the Chernabog, it's actually been called Disney's best representation of pure evil. And it is. It gives you the chills. It gives you, even to this day, it's some scary animation. The huge nocturnal and winged demon is based on the god of the night in Slavonic mythology. It's Walpurgis Nacht, and the Chernabog, well, he emerges from the peak of Mount Triglav in Kiev, or near Kiev in southern Russia. And he summons all of these minions. He eventually throws them all into the mountain's fiery pit. Well, I mean, the whole segment is an orgy of evil as demons and ghosts rise from the dead and gather around this winged demon. Well, I'm sure a lot of people say, well, no parent in their right mind would say their kid, their young kid in front of this horrible, horrible demon and have them watching on a Disney movie. But I mean, I didn't know that it would be on a Disney movie because Disney's supposed to be a child-friendly type of thing, right? Well, it's not just, actual intent of evil, but you've got something like, for example, Cinderella. A Disney cartoon, Cinderella, the film version. Family has an evil cat named Lucifer. He smiles just like the Cheshire Cat, the other Disney film, Alice in Wonderland. And there seems to be this interesting dialogue that you pick up on when you're watching Cinderella talk with Bruno, the other dog. Okay, she's talking with Bruno the dog, but there's this other cat named Lucifer, and Bruno and Lucifer have to get along. But the way she's talking about it is kind of, well, when you take it out of context, you realize that they're actually telling you that maybe it's not so bad to be involved with Lucifer.
Bruno! Dreaming again. Chasing Lucifer? Catch him this time? That's bad. Suppose they heard you upstairs. You know the orders. So if you don't want to lose a nice warm bed, you'd better get rid of those dreams. No, I mean it. Lucifer has his good points, too. There must be something good about him. I know it isn't easy, but at least we should try to get along together. And that includes you, Your Majesty.
Your Majesty, of course, she's referring to Lucifer. You know, it's interesting. If it weren't for this Black Mirror TV show, and it weren't for a YouTube channel that is favorited amongst a lot of people online right now, we wouldn't be having a conversation tonight with this wonderful guest that we have found. He's near London tonight. We're glad to be speaking with Round Saturn's Eye, or RSE for short. Hey, RSE, you out there, buddy?
I am. How are you, Clyde?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to have you on the show. So
yeah, I'm not too bad.
So you've been doing research into these out of context subliminal messages that are being spoken of in cartoons and movies and all this. When did you first start doing this, and what was the first thing that struck you as odd, or the first thing you heard that you just had to get out there?
Well, I woke up to the New World Order type agenda about 5 years ago, and someone told me about it. I kind of forgot for a while, but as time went on, I actually got into the occult a bit myself, and just through what I saw through that, I came out of that. I was looking for answers, and I prayed for answers, and my eyes were just opened to just the symbolism, the language of symbolism. And over time, I've learned more about what is going on. It's just absolutely incredible, just everywhere.
And so you see the symbolism, you see it in TV shows, movies, you hear it, you see it in videos. I mean, we've heard so many things about how the music industry now is full of this type of symbolism. When you first did your research, what was the thing that first struck you as being, I guess you could call it occult-like or even non-spiritual, that you saw in something as innocuous as maybe a cartoon or a movie?
Well, I'd seen all this, you know, in Disney, as you were saying, Disney, there's so much corruption, and you get like even sexual subliminals, like words like sex and things like this. And I just thought these corporations really evil, clearly. And going a bit further, looking at the all-seeing eye and the pyramid, and just going from there, really, a lot of people wake up at that stage. And then I started to learn about the deeper nature of the occult that's going on, and based around Saturn and varying other sort of deities, planets. And it is incredibly deep. And I'm still nowhere near the depth of how truly deep it is.
You mentioned that there was a lot of, you saw that Disney's one of the, I guess one of the worst for putting out this kind of stuff. And they really are, because if you listen carefully or watch, you see sex in the clouds in The Lion King. And we stumbled upon something today that we wanted to play for the audience. We're going to play for you too. There's a scene in Aladdin where the young princess wants Aladdin to leave, and what she does is she basically sticks her tiger on him. And if you listen carefully, you can hear in the, I guess you could call it the murmuring and in the other talking that's behind the scenes, you hear someone actually say, "Good teenagers take off their clothes." Listen to this.
Leave me alone.
So how's our little beau doing? Come on, good teenagers, take off. Down, kid.
Wait.
Good teenagers, take off. Good teenagers, take off. Good teenagers, take off.
I mean, there it is, loud and clear. Good teenagers take off their clothes. Did you hear that?
Yes, it is unbelievable. I tell you, this place, this society, this world is going to grow very, very dark with what they are doing.
So you think that do you think that since we absorb this, I mean, that was very subliminal.
Yeah.
Do we absorb more subliminal than we do what is out there? Is that our unconscious taking this in, and are we affected by it in any way, in your opinion?
Yes, precisely. And it leads you in ways that you wouldn't even realize. And I think that's the danger of it. It's totally anti-human. You know, it's totally wrong. And I can't even, with the way that children have been programmed, our generation, probably worse, the generation coming up, is you can imagine the incremental change this is going to have on society in terms of fidelity and everything, and perversions, you know.
You know, you were talking earlier too, RSC, about, you were saying that you saw a lot of pyramids, eyes above the pyramids, the unfinished pyramid, and that sort of thing. today, as I was doing research into this, there was actually a Tom and Jerry cartoon that was released a while ago, how Tom and Jerry wanted to be a part of this new TV show. It was a reality show where it was called A Race. And these two businessmen are sitting at a desk, and they're discussing whether or not they should go through with this, having a cat and a mouse involved in the show. And all of a sudden, this pyramid that's sitting on the desk lights up, and they're saying, oh my gosh, we're getting a call from the president of Hollywood. And so they put these pyramid hats on, they get in the middle of the room, and then they press a button, and then like this beam comes down, and you hear who the president of Hollywood is. It's a growling Satan. Listen to this.
What's this?
Well, from the looks of things, sir, I'd say they are here to audition for the remaining slot in the fabulous super race.
Is this some kind of a joke? A pussycat and a mouse? This show is about crazy stunts and people putting their lives at risk for a big fat prize. It's not a nature documentary. Irving, call security and have these...
Sir, it's him. This always gives me the creeps, sir.
He's the president of Hollywood. He's supposed to give you the creeps.
Greetings, your tinseliness, imperious leader of Hollywood.
It actually is the devil forming in the room as they're worshiping the devil, and that's what makes it so creepy. Is they're praising the president of Hollywood turns out to be Satan, which is amazing.
It's all just programming, isn't it?
It comes right out and says it. I mean, I know it's supposed to be a joke, but I mean, sometimes there's truth in fiction, and sometimes we need to pay attention to it. I think that's why your website and your YouTube channel is so amazing, because of what you see and how you take these things and put them in video form. Round Saturn's Eye tonight on Ground Zero. You can go to YouTube and check out Round Saturn's Eye. Plenty of videos, a very popular site for a lot of people on the internet. Go there and check it out. We'll have more from RSC coming up in your questions. Were you ever influenced, or did you ever remember something as innocuous as a cartoon or a song or a movie where you realized, what am I watching? What am I seeing? Is this something that's evil or weird or satanic? 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
Everyone is in on the secrets, and big things are being planned. Call Clyde Lewis now. Ground Zero.
In the first hour, we talked to you about a cartoon that was released on Adult Swim called Mr. Pickles, which is a blatant, I guess, ribbing. It's not really ribbing. It's blatant, and it's harsh, and it's crass, and it's brazen against Christianity, conspiracy theory, and cartoon Satanism. But, you know, and people say, well, it's Adult Swim. You know, you're told that it's an adult area, and you know what you're going to be getting if you watch this show. It's going to be an adult-themed show, and if you can't handle the mock Satanism in this show, then watch something else. Well, let me play you. This is something from Nickelodeon. This isn't Cartoon Network. This is a child's Nickelodeon, sort of child cartoons. And this is a commercial talking about censorship and how the word heck means something different. And then a cow in a dark outfit counts some numbers, and you can imagine if the kids fill in the next number, what he'll say.
Hey, wait a minute. Heck, isn't it supposed to be... Censors. 662, 663, 664, 665.
And then they stop. 665. What's the number after 665? 666. And tonight, Round Saturn's Eye is with us. He has a website that is devoted to uncovering and exposing this kind of stuff. So glad to have him on the program tonight. And I'm going to ask you this. Do you think this is part of a great conspiracy, or is this being done unwittingly by the artists that put these things together? Or do you think they're trying to be funny? What do you think is about what this is about?
From what I've seen, it's a bit of both. Demons can manipulate matter, so they can influence people's thoughts And sometimes I've seen real examples in everyday life of these things happening and people producing rather occult logos without even realizing what they're doing. But I think there are some Illuminists involved in the mainstream Hollywood scene.
Mm-hmm. And so they're sending out their message through cartoons and other movies?
Yeah, not only just messages, but rituals, energy harvesting, sucking the energy out of people for their agenda, usually negative energy. And
yeah, it's interesting because, as I said, the biggest shock, everybody said, why don't you do a show on Mr. Pickles, Clyde? And I said, yeah, what would I say about Mr. Pickles? I mean, it's a cartoon on Adult Swim. It's a cartoon that blatantly goes out and makes fun of Christians, upside down crosses, 666, the devil. And then, of course, the dog becomes possessed, kills its victim, and then has sex with it. They also talk about genocide, abortion, you name it. It's like all over this thing. And it's like, it's so blatant. It's like, it's uncomfortable and it's laughable at the same time. And so what you find yourself doing is you find yourself having this uncomfortable laughter with regard to the devil and to Satan and to things like abortion and genocide. Do you think that's not healthy, is it? You don't think that's healthy?
No, and it lures you in for sure. It tickles your carnal flesh and it makes you want to, be part of it. But it's totally satanic. And the magic we see being used in the productions today, it's just alchemical, subliminal symbolism, auto-suggestion, voodoo magic, mind-altering tones in music. It's a massive range, a broad range of historical mythology and magic all rolled into one on the TV.
Would you say it could be like, when an artist performs, sometimes a spirit takes over and you have things like channeling and automatic writing and all of that. Do you think that maybe these are ways that demons or at least disincarnated spirits can get their message out to us if they're trying to communicate with us?
Yeah, they certainly use hosts, and people like Jimi Hendrix admitted to channeling. I think it was Metatron, many of them.
Yeah. And of course,
the automatic writing in the, the Led Zeppelin, Aleister Crowley's house, they wrote Stairway to Heaven automatically.
And last night we talked about Zoso, who was the demon, one of the demons that was mentioned, or one of the disincarnate spirits that was mentioned. Of course, Robert Plant, I believe, called himself Zoso. And we talked about who Zoso was last night. He was a demon that would appear when invited and is kind of a shy demon, but yet is a demon that can really wreak havoc, hides in closets, hides under beds, this type of thing. And so, do you think that, and I don't believe that this is the case, but a lot of people have told me, do you think just talking about this stuff invokes it, or do you think talking about it is healthy and then knowing what to avoid is important?
Yeah, precisely. And that's a protection for yourself, because you need to be protected, and knowledge is power. If you know what these things are, then they can't affect you in the same way subliminally. So it's definitely important. You get a lot of Christians come onto the channel saying you shouldn't be talking about this, but this is exactly what we need to talk about in the world that we live in at the moment.
I think we really need to be aware of it, because of course it sneaks in, and when it does, it can really affect you if you're not careful. And there have been things that I've seen that have affected me in certain ways I didn't think they would affect me. Like, for example, that first episode of Black Mirror. I was completely shocked, affected, and I felt uneasy after I watched it, and I couldn't believe my brain was so intent in finding out the ending to what was going to happen here that I sat through it and kind of wished I hadn't, and kind of wished I had. It's kind of a weird feeling that I had. First time I've ever done that with a show, I guess. With us tonight, we're discussing some of this with Round Saturn's Eye on Ground Zero. If you have any questions, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Coming up, some more of these innocuous things you never thought would affect you. Coming up on Ground Zero.
The medium is the massage.
The medium is the massage.
Any understanding of social and cultural change is impossible without a knowledge of the way media work as environments.
No strings to hold me down, to make me red or make me brown. I hit strings, but now I'm free. There are no strings on me. Hi ho, the merry-o, that's the only way to be. I want the world to know nothing ever worries me.
The battle for the mind of North America will be fought in the video arena.
Sugar? Fries?
All we understand.
Now you got it.
There's never been a better time to buy.
Television is reality. And reality is less than television. Television is reality. And reality is less than television.
Mamma mia, mamma mia. Mamma mia, let me go. Beelzebub has a devil put aside for me.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and you are listening to Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. Tonight's show called Hellovision. What are we looking at when we watch TV? What about movies? What about those innocuous television shows and cartoons? Oh, yeah, they're pretty bad. You know, when I was a kid, I watched all kinds of craziness. And, you know, of course, I watched a lot of horror films. And of course, you know, by the time I was in the 6th grade, I was already going to Alice Cooper concerts and Black Sabbath concerts and Kiss concerts and Star Wars and all this stuff. There was a film that came out actually in the 1980s. It was a kids show. It was called The Adventures of Mark Twain, and it was actually made by Will Vinton Studios. A lot of people here in the Northwest know about it, but it was one of those cartoons where there was actually a special guest in the cartoon. The special guest was called The Stranger. Here's an excerpt from The Adventures of Mark Twain. Listen to this.
Welcome to the mysterious stranger.
What?
Hello.
Who are you?
An angel. What's your name? Satan. Uh-oh. What's the matter? Nothing. Only it's sure a sorry name for an angel. Wow. Please, come in.
Come on.
Amazing. It's like an island.
Did you see that?
Mars. How'd you learn to do that? I didn't learn it at all. It comes naturally to me, like other curious things. Are you hungry? Sure am. What kind of fruit do you like the most?
Oranges.
Apples?
Grapes.
Where'd he go?
What happened to him?
There. Oh, boy.
Can we help? You may make some people.
I'll make the king and queen.
I'm gonna make a soldier.
Look at that little village.
I find you humans quite interesting, even though you are a worthless, greedy lot. How annoying that sound is.
So what the devil does is he hands clay to these kids and asks them to make people, and then when they make the people, he proceeds to kill them in front of the children right there in this. They're clay people, but he proceeds to kill them in this little village, and then he makes little caskets, and he says that human beings are foolish. It's a very frightening cartoon called The Adventures of Mark Twain. It was done by Will Vinton Studios back in the 1980s. With me tonight is Round Saturn's Eye. You know, there's several archetypes that you like to expose in your videos. Many symbols that you find repeatedly in your research. Can you name some of those symbols and archetypes for us?
Wow, that's quite a question. There's so many, and the spiritual synchronicity is just prevalent at this time. But one recently has been IXXI. Have you heard of this?
No, tell me about it.
IXXI that is the Roman numerals for 9/11, and you see it used on many bands, artists, artwork for the albums, and IXXI is the gate. So it's the 9/11 in Roman numerals. It's pretty much the same thing if you look at the Freemasonry symbol with the up and down arrow. Mm-hmm. Have you seen the Freemason, the one you see everywhere with the G in the center, like the XX?
You see the XX. Yes, you see that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so IXXI is just that with the two pillars either side, and the two pillars are so important to them in Freemasonry with Solomon's Temple. And
are you also talking about you're talking about the towers, the J and B towers? You see those also on the tarot cards when you're looking at the High Priestess card. That's a very important symbol because in the middle of those two towers is the Great Mystery, and what that is it's kind of a time gate. I don't know if you are. I don't know if you're familiar with how when the World Trade Center was brought down, the two towers were brought down. There was actually a Ben stone or a stone or a round brass ball that was in the middle of this time gate, and it didn't get destroyed, so they moved it to another area. But literally, the World Trade Center was a representation of Mecca, but it was Mecca for the United States and not for the Middle East. And so what you're looking at is we're looking at a great timepiece that was there to literally be a gateway to heaven.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is the gates are a big part of their agenda, and it's no coincidence that it was on 9/11, 2001, which 9/11/3 is 23. Mm-hmm. Seen that movie with Jim Carrey, 23, number 23.
What about, we're talking about we're looking at the gates of heaven, the gates of time opening or closing, and when those planes hit, did that literally bring down the gates, or did it change them to being the gates of hell, literally, what's your opinion on that?
Well, yeah, bringing down the two pillars, that's very significant. It's like Samson in the Bible when he pushes down the two pillars. The whole point is to break the fabric of space and time and rip it open and bring things through portals. And that's what I believe 9/11 represented. It was 9 months after December the 25th, which is the conception, and then 9 months for birthing, and you had the gate ritual, which was 9/11/2001.
So it was a huge cremation of care ritual where those 3,000 people perished. In fact, I wanted to share something with you. It would probably blow your mind if I shared it, but I want to share it with you anyway. I had said, I had interviewed Orrin Hatch, who happened to be one of the senators on the 9/11 committee and also was working to bring down communism back in the 1980s. And one of the things I asked him was because of the fact that we made deals with Osama bin Laden to actually bring down the Russians and bring down communism. And I said to him, do you realize that 3,000 people had to die in the future, 2001, in order for communism to come down in the late 80s? And I said, was it worth it? And he said, yes, it was. So basically, they know with space and time, they're able to do what I call retrocausality, where they know in the future that some event is going to happen. They've already got pre-planned and ready to go, and they make preparations beforehand, kind of a blueprint, if you will. And that's why everything seems so esoteric and bizarre. And that's why you see so much confusion with regard to 9/11 and how mystical it truly was. And being the type of guy you are doing videos the way you do, you remember that there was plenty of foreshadowing in movies and television and all this before 9/11 about the towers coming down. Am I right?
Yes, so much pre-programming. Yeah. And it was a total energy. It's all about the energy. So the energy harvesting. Mm-hmm. And I think someone even measured the energy. I've seen a chart that the energy level across this globe went so up directly after that event because of the emotional negative response. And of course that drives the agenda of cracking open these portals and the collection of energy with CERN. CERN's on at the moment with the LHC. That's been around a while now.
Yeah, the Large Hadron Collider is also, something that I also have paid attention to. and how they're using it for communication. They're using it to open up some sort of a wormhole. I mean, isn't that something that, you look at the towers as in the middle of them, some sort of a wormhole, some sort of opening. You look at CERN, the Atlas, the LHC being some sort of something to open dimensions. And then a lot of the archetypical things you demonstrate is that there's also something called the cube, where it's like we're in this prison and the elites have the keys to the prison, and that we're kept in a cube, sort of a panopticon cube, and many of us are wanting to escape, and we're hearing about everybody trying to escape, rockets and everything, but we can't. Is this something that you've discovered in your findings as well?
Yeah, the infinity, again, time and space. We're trapped in this fleshly, materialistic reality, and if it ties into the Saturn thing, on one of the poles of Saturn, there's a hexagonal storm feature. Mm-hmm. On the other is the eye, which is probably to do with the all-seeing eye.
What do you think? I mean, now you bring up Saturn and you bring up that hexagonal area. Have you ever heard of Project Lucifer? The idea that they want to detonate Cassini and try to create a new sun with Saturn?
I have heard of that project. Is this Vatican-based?
I don't know if it's Vatican-based. There's something.
Telescope.
It was first talked about. Well, we got the Vatican Lucifer telescope, but there was also something that was called the Jason Scholars, that were a group of Masons that had this idea that in order for the planet to survive, or members of the planet to survive, the number of elitists or people, some of the best of the world would have to leave the planet, and they would have to go somewhere where there'd be some hospitable, a hospitable extraterrestrial area. And they looked at Titan as one of those moons near Saturn, that if they could just ignite Saturn and make it a sun, that they would be able to, have Titan be more of a bearable place to live. And
Saturn is the black sun, the god of time and space.
Exactly, Cronus.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and of course we see the symbolism in a lot of things, and of course Saturnalia, the celebration of Saturnalia, is coming up on the 17th. Now, and what's interesting is that the Hobbit movie's coming out on the 17th, the Five Armies.
Yeah,
and I find that interesting because they call Saturn the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
which on the day of Saturnalia, they're releasing that movie on that date because I'm sure that they're going to want to gather the power of the Saturnalian forces to make it a success.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if Christmas doesn't tie into those celebrations because it's full of the paganism anyway. So,
well, yeah, I mean, you look at Santa Claus, and you look at the Goat Man, and you look at the horned Moloch and the Canaanite sacrifice of children, and you see how Moloch was this horned god. He had horns and he had a bull's head, and then he would take the child and he would drop it into the fire. And then you look at how now the world is warming up to Krampus, which is this Christmas anti-Santa, which is supposed to come and rid the world of bad children. So, I mean, these are some pretty bizarre things that we're warming up to these days, don't you think?
Yeah, and they're externalizing some of this information, I've noticed, through, I think, 2.5 Men or something, Big Bang Theory, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
He outright referred to Christmas as Saturnalia. So.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I saw that on your website. It was on Big Bang Theory. That says, we don't celebrate Saturnalia. And they were actually talking about Saturnalia, Yule logs, and all of that, bring us into the pagan aspects of Christmas. Tonight, we are so glad to be talking with Round Saturn's Eye. That's RSE. He has a very popular YouTube channel. It's actually a rarity that we can get him to interview, but we have him on tonight. We're very excited. Give him a call, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. More to come from Ground Zero. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
RSC, Round Saturn's Eye, with us tonight on Ground Zero, one of the most popular video channels on YouTube right now, as he analyzes a lot of the media and looks for hidden meaning in it. And tonight we're discussing this, some of the more innocuous things, some of the most blatant things that are out there, from Mr. Pickles on down to Disney. And we were talking earlier in the first hour about Disney, how Disney pretty much sets the standard for the princess, and we see them grow up, even if they're on cartoons or or whatever. We also see them grow up like Miley Cyrus. And of course, Miley Cyrus goes from being this cute little princess to this twerking whore on television. And we're thinking to ourselves, what happened? And I know that you've done a breakdown before, RSE, of the Wrecking Ball video. What exactly, tell my audience about the Wrecking Ball video and what it represents.
Well, to me, it looked a lot like the Whore of Babylon riding on the bull, or the Baal, the bull, and destroying. Well, someone's done some good work lately. It seems to be about destroying the temple, how it's Satan's agenda. Our body is the temple. And as you were talking about the transhumanist agenda of the destruction of the body, and how it's not good for you, this technology. But yeah, just totally, absolutely insane what we are seeing. Once you wake up to the spiritual symbolism, you realize that this is no joke. It's very real, and it's just everywhere.
They're very aware of the programming they're giving us, I'm sure, because there are things that I have seen in just, in television shows that are just meant for kids. I remember there was a time where I think it was on Sprout. There's this it's a television network for children. I think they had the Berenstain Bears, and they were having a Christmas special. And the Christmas special had nothing to do with Christ, had nothing to do with what Christmas was about. But it kind of pushed the issue, once again, back to the Saturnalian issue. It was pushing the issue of a pagan Christmas, where instead of talking about Christmas, they were talking about trees to decorate, Yule logs to celebrate with. And then I remember the snowflakes, when they fell, they weren't snowflakes, but they were five-sided stars. They were pentacles, or they were pentagrams. And I'm looking at it going, wait a minute, a child doesn't understand what that is. And quite frankly, I don't think a child, consciously would know, but subconsciously inside them, they would have those symbols, wired into their unconscious mind. And then when they see them, they would recognize them. I am very surprised at, my fiance's little boy, watching him grow up, watching television, watching children's television. And now that he's 8 years old, going on 9 years old, the kind of dialogue we have as an adult to a child sometimes surprises me at how adult it sounds coming out of him. Because when I was a kid, I never thought of the things that he talks about. And not only that, I never brought my work home. And he was telling me all about ghosts and demons and goblins and things of that nature when he was like 5-6 years old. And I was really surprised because I didn't expose him to any of that. And I didn't think he was getting exposed to any of that, all except that now, he draws certain characters. He's into superheroes. He's very, very smart, very tuned in. I just wonder sometimes, though, what exactly his subconscious or his unconscious mind is picking up on, because as you say, it's hidden there. We have the archetypes, we have the dark archetypes have been spoken of, and we absorb all of them, no matter what happens. So tonight on the program, we have Round Saturn's Eye. Round Saturn's Eye, YouTube. If you want to go to YouTube, go to Round Saturn's Eye and check out his YouTube. It's one of the more popular ones, and we're so glad to have him on the program tonight, all the way from London tonight. We'll be back with more. Keep it here on Ground Zero. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
Let me be clear. As a citizen and as president, Ground Zero is indeed essential on radio and is essential to who we are.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Our guest tonight, Round Saturn's Eye, or RSE for short. Very popular YouTube channel as a citizen journalist and a person who is getting the word out. He certainly is seeing what he believes are demons expressing themselves through the works of art produced by humans, and that includes some of the things we see in the media. He says the message that is being sent is ominous. And we've been talking about whether or not this is unwitting, or if it's channeling, or if it's something else. I'll tell you what. Here's something that I want to play for you now. And we were listening to this during the break, and I have Roger Cluton from Northwest Coast Recon in here with his son, Alex. And we were discussing this little piece. And Alex, of course, you know, he's in high school, and he was shocked at what he heard here. This is a Scooby-Doo. This is taken from Scooby-Doo. And listen up. In this segment, you hear Fred talking about a goat man terrorizing children, Baphomet, and you also hear about Nibiru and the 12th planet. This is in a Scooby-Doo episode. Here it is.
Hey there, son.
What are you doing, dear?
Yeah, what's in the
briefcase?
Glad you asked. Mom, Dad, I've got something important to say. Since you've come back into my life, I finally feel for the first time ever that I can trust adults.
Oh, Fred.
We're glad you feel that way, son.
And because of that, if anything should happen to me or the gang, I want you to have what's in this briefcase.
We can take it right now.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'm going to put it in the mystery machine for now so I can keep a close eye on it. The gang and I are checking out some weird goat guy who's terrorizing kids. The gang and I are checking out some weird goat guy who's terrorizing kids. The gang and I are checking out some weird goat guy who's terrorizing kids. You know duty. It calls. It's so great having you both in my life again.
Keep your tripwire taut.
And your tensile line strong.
Ricky, it's Brad.
And Judy. Go ahead, you two.
Tell Professor Pericles the rest of the planispheric disk
is ours for the taking.
Something's been bugging me about our little underwater escapade.
There's a lot about that adventure I wish we could forget.
Amen to that.
But the weirdest part of all was what the late Abigail Gluck whispered.
Like I'll say, a crazy mummified corpse whispering Nibiru is creepy times 10.
It gets creepier. I Googled it and found a lot. Namely this. Nibiru is a planet listed in the writings of Zecharia Sitchin, particularly his book The 12th Planet. According to Sitchin's interpretation of Babylonian religious texts, a giant planet called Nibiru passes by Earth every 3,600 years and allows its sentient inhabitants to interact with humanity. These beings, which Sitchin identified with the Anunnaki of Sumerian myth, would become humanity's first gods. My favorite internet encyclopedia says there's supposed to be a collision. The Nibiru collision is a disastrous encounter between the Earth and a large planetary object. Believers in this doomsday event usually refer to this object as Planet X, or Nibiru.
The doomsday event?
There's nothing funnier than hearing Scooby-Doo go, the doomsday event. It's quite funny, and tonight, Round Saturn's Eye is with us from London. You know, have you ever heard that segment from Scooby-Doo?
Well, I've never heard an impression as good as that.
Thank you. I just was listening to that today, and I'm going, doomsday. I'm just thinking they ought to just do a whole thing of Scooby-Doo reading about Nibiru and Planet X. So here we are talking about all of these things being wrapped in cartoons and TV shows that are meant for children. Now, you know, you look at Planet X and you look at the promise of this city or this planet that's supposed to be coming from out there somewhere. There was actually a TV show that was canceled called The Event, where they were actually, you really didn't know what was going on, but most of the names that they had in the TV show were names of Gnostic characters, you know, and they were actually discussing that they had to open up a portal, and they needed some nuclear device to do it, and they opened up a portal so they could bring the other Earth in, at least close to our Earth, so that they could bring this city back and bring back what are known as our ancestors, because they've been on this planet before. I mean, everything seems to be embedded being broadcast on purpose. It's like, it's science fiction, but man, you read about things like the City of God, and like you always point out, and you've pointed out before, the cube. The cube can be as, I guess you could call it, as hideous or as scary as the Borg from Star Trek, or you can also look at it as like the New Jerusalem, which is talked about in the Bible, the city, the square cube city that's supposed to come somewhere out near the sun. What can you tell us about all that? What of your studies led you to believe about the cube and its power? I mean, we've seen cubes in like Hellraiser and other films. What is the significance of the cube?
Well, it's of the beast. As I said, sorry, my voice is going. I think it's because I'm up late, but
okay.
It's, as I said, it's on the pole of Saturn and the hexagonal. You think about our DNA, even the hexagonal, the flesh that we're in is part of this beast.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we're told in the Bible to stay away from serving the flesh, because the flesh is of this fallen reality.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly I think it's interesting you should say you're talking about Planet X and the Anunnaki inside the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think personally that Saturn is the veiled truth of it is that Saturn is Planet X, and I certainly think that the womb is in Saturn, and these things could well be in there. But
well, I've heard that theory before, and it's a very good theory that we will eventually learn that Planet X is Saturn, that it has been Nemesis all along, and that we're waiting for this planet to come when the planet is right there. And what's fascinating to me is both Jupiter and Saturn have been nominated in some ways as the unknown planets or the planets that need to be reevaluated and looked at as possible places where mankind can find its way. I don't know if you've seen the new movie Interstellar, but in that film, the way the astronauts are part of the secret program to leave the planet and to move forward into the new dawn, which of course is Saturnalian speak for the new dawn or the age of Aquarius. They move into the Saturnalian Aquarius by finding a black hole or a vortex, as like you were talking about CERN and everything else. They open up this black hole. Somebody opened it up. They say the aliens did it for them because they cared, and they got through it so they could go to these other planets and explore. And then when Orion, the spaceship that lifted off from Cape Canaveral a few days ago, they said, and now liftoff, the new dawn of Orion, and the one more brick. They said one more brick in a way that we can find ourselves on Mars or some other planet. And I think that seems to be on the minds of a lot of scientists right now. We have a lot of, I guess you could call them extinction level events in our future. Maybe it's time to lift off this planet, or at least some of the elite to lift off the planet.
Yeah, and there certainly seems to be a lot of propaganda surrounding even Sirius. If you think of the word Siri, which is also on iPhones, that's iris backwards.
Mm-hmm.
It's all to do with the eye is the gate and the portals. And there's going to be a mass deception. This is what I'm picking up. There's going to be a mass deception.
Well, the mass deception you're speaking of is something we've talked about kind of on the periphery, and that is, you bring up Sirius, which is the star of ISIS.
Mm-hmm.
And ISIS, of course, we have the ISIS, of course, which is this terrorist group. But the truth is all of these words and all of these ideas have meaning. I mean, when they named the Rosetta mothership, when they named it the Rosetta mothership, and then they had the Philae, which was the other probe that went to this comet. And then what happened is that the Rosetta is actually a translation stone that they wanted to communicate with aliens on this planet here, on this comet. And the Philae was actually one of the islands where the temple of Osiris and Isis existed. And then the next probe to go out into space from NASA will be called Osiris Rex. So they're using all of these terminologies that are basically part of ritualism and theurgy to actually move us into this new dawn, or the new dawn, or what Crowley said, the new dawn.
The rise of the phoenix, the age. But and that's it. The spiritual narrative is all through language. Even if you look at roots of words, you can get the veiled truth of what these things mean and why they use these terms. But I think the great deception is that these things will pose as light, because we think of Satan, we think of beasts and darkness, but it's a paradigm, a dualistic paradigm of light and darkness. Satan poses as light. And I think the world may, by these light beings, like the Ashtar Command thing as being a good thing because they pose as pure beauty.
Yeah, once again, it reminds me, you're talking about the workers of light or the appear to light, the Luciferians, if you will.
Yeah.
Going back to the Cinderella clip that we played earlier. I don't know if you had a chance to hear it, but listen to this. This is really peculiar. This is from Disney's Cinderella talking about His Majesty Lucifer. Listen up.
Bruno! Dreaming again. Chasing Lucifer? Catch him this time? That's bad. Suppose they heard you upstairs. You know the orders. So if you don't want to lose a nice warm bed, you'd better get rid of those dreams. No, I mean it. Lucifer has his good points, too. There must be something good about him. I know it isn't easy, but at least we should try to get along together. And that includes you, Your Majesty.
And Lucifer is Your Majesty, and it's a lot like what you said. We should learn to get along with the light, those posing as light bearers, the Luciferians.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's the rising of the sun, as you said.
Exactly. The dark sun, the dark father, the dark prison. The father of the dark prison is Cronus, Saturn. Everything you talk about when you're talking about the end of days and your search for Jesus and your exposition of what can be these embedded satanic type things that are being channeled today, whether wittingly or unwittingly. Just some amazing stuff tonight. And we are talking tonight with Round Saturn's Eye, very popular site on the internet, on YouTube. Go ahead and check it out. It's Red Saturn's Eye. And we'll go to your calls coming up on Ground Zero. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
Under the cover of night, anything goes. KXL After Dark.
This is not a test. It is the future. Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
RSC is with us tonight. Round Saturn's Eye. It is a YouTube channel you should check out. And from London tonight, he's here with us. We're so glad to have him on board with us to talk about some of the things that he's seen, symbolism in the media, something as innocuous as a cartoon or maybe even a commercial or something where he believes that demons or other supernatural forces are channeling themselves into a lot of what the media is presenting, sometimes wittingly, sometimes on purpose. And tonight we're exploring that with some of the things we've been playing tonight on Ground Zero. We're going to go to the phones now and talk with some of you about what you're getting from these messages. Let's go to Webster in Virginia, WNIS. You're on Ground Zero with RSE. Go ahead.
How are you doing today?
Doing great, man.
Hey, man.
All righty. Listen, through the media and movies, we've been pretty much being conditioned. And pretty much what's yet to come. I told the screener that, case in point, there's some realistic things are happening. Old Dominion developed a type of microchip about the size of a grain of rice. And the original purpose was to implant this in the hand, okay, and for medical purposes. So if EMS would drop by, all you got to do is scan your hand, and all your medical information will come up.
Right.
Okay. The European Union bought that technology a few years later. So,
well, doesn't let me ask RSC? Doesn't Prince Charles and Prince William, don't they have chips? Didn't they? Were the first? Didn't the royals take the chips in their hands first of all?
I've not heard that.
You haven't heard that?
No, but I know that they want the transhumanist higher consciousness.
I think at the end of the day, pretty soon this chip's going to contain other information. Example, your financial can be used as a credit card to purchase. Even the Bible lists a lot of things that are supposed to take place, and I would say a good 90% of it's already taken place. It's just the only thing that's pretty much left is the Antichrist.
Well, see, I am not of the opinion that the chip itself is the mark of the beast. I would say that it's a part of the equation. And I've said this before, and I've gotten many arguments because people are all saying, I'm not going to take that chip, and that chip is the mark of the beast. I think there's more to it than that. And I think also, looking at RSE's website, we look at the human being and we say, okay, what is the most important thing a human being has that the elite wants? Well, one is the soul and the other is the blood of that human being. And they want them as resources. Right. Now, you take a look at the blood of the human being, breaking it down to its you break it down to the most menial parts of carbon, and that's 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. You throw that together, your 666 is your mark. And that is, if you take this chip, it will be able to monitor blood, it will be able to monitor finance, it will be able to monitor things. And yes, you will not be able to buy, sell, or trade unless you're of the bloodline of those who do so. Otherwise, you're just one more peon in the group, and the elites are the ones that are going to be controlling everything. So I think they want to separate the bloodlines, for one thing. That's why there's plenty of genealogy going around in the world. That's why you have fake genealogies coming from the royal family. In fact, they were just discussing this about finding the king, the body parts of that king, and they were tracing it. They're saying the royal family are not connected in any way, shape, or form to this king's body they found. You're going to learn that the divine blood that we hear about coming from the royals and coming from elsewhere is not divine at all. And so if they put themselves in a position where they're saying, well, we're better than you, we have the divine blood of David or Christ or whatever, they're counterfeiting themselves. They're becoming the what is called part of the synagogue of Satan, and therefore they're antichrist. And this is where and you were saying something about the United Kingdom, not the United Kingdom, but the European Union buying some of the technology. If you look at if you look at the European Union, most of what they do is completely mock the Book of Revelation. In fact, RSC, you know that in Belgium, where they have the tower, you see the harlot of Babylon riding the beast, and it's depicted in the courtyard, on a tapestry, even on a stamp that's a representation of the European Union. Am I right?
Yeah, precisely. And they want to take us into the next stage of human evolution and this transfigured planet with a hive mind, and they're building a web, a worldwide web, and everyone will be interconnected to it. And that's their new age kind of transhumanist technology.
So as we move into the age of the Aquarius, it's going to be that transhuman age, the transhumanist age.
Yeah, I've even seen a patent on Google for the monitoring of thoughts, of people's thoughts through this technology, and the changing of the DNA.
Right.
It's just insane.
Webster, thank you for your call tonight. I really appreciate it. And, I want to go further into that when we cross over from the break about this, because it's kind of an interesting thing, that the embracing of the machine, the computer, the technology, and from the beginning, again, when I was talking about Black and Mirror, the television program from Channel 4, it's all about technology and how some of the most horrifying things can be brought about by this technology, including some very humiliating, evil, satanic things. And that's exactly why I guess the show is recommended to me to watch. And so we'll get back with that tonight. RSE is with us tonight on Ground Zero. It's Round Saturn's Eye on YouTube. Check it out. We'll be back with some more of your phone calls at 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. And more of these strange things being heard in cartoons and seen. It's just amazing how if you just look for them, you'll find them. We'll be back. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
The second thing that happens is that the butcher loses control.
You don't have to play it, but I hope you'll do your best. I've been listening to your show on the radio, and you seem like a friend to me.
Stupid who?
Come along, children.
Stupid poop.
Good morning.
Okay, that didn't work at all.
It only seemed to increase their appetite for wieners.
We need stronger tactics.
Right, something that would make Mr. Krabs' whole wiener thing blow right up in his face.
Yeah, blow up. Okay, goodness lesson number 2. You see someone struggling with a heavy package. What do you do?
Hello, friends! I noticed you were struggling with that package. Would you like some help? Oops. Sorry, can I start over? I noticed you were... Oops, gotta start again. What? Yeah, you butterfingers!
Stupid poop.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. Tonight, from London, England, we have with us Round Saturn's Eye, the YouTube phenomenon. You can call in tonight at 888-673-3700. 888-673-3700. Tonight, all kinds of subliminal, weird stuff that you find in cartoons, movies, and elsewhere. We made it a point to actually dig some of this out and demonstrate to you that either wittingly or unwittingly, we're hearing about all of this to somehow program us, whether it be through the revelation of the method, predictive programming, or some sort of causal engineering that we're seeing this go down. And so tonight, to comment on it, RSE, Round Saturn's Eye, with us tonight. You know, you're talking about the royals, you're talking about transhumanism, talking about all that and the embracing of it. Is there an embracing in your neck of the woods for transhumanism more so than here in the United States?
Oh, people are glued to their phones all the time.
Really?
This technology is taking over. You go out for a meal and you see a family and they're not even talking to each other. They're all on iPads.
Really? They just sit on their iPads. They don't communicate. They're just...
Yeah. It really affects the social structure. But, yeah, as I said, it's like a hive mind they're trying to build, a connection, being one with the world. And this technology that you see in patents now is just getting beyond belief, that people are putting their fingerprints in phones just without even questioning.
So they're using biometrics and those types of things for identification purposes.
Yeah, precisely. But have you heard of the Oculus? It's like something that you put over your eyes and you play computer games on. Oh,
I've heard of the Oculus. I just have never seen an Oculus. They have those in England, and they're just sitting there just staring at these. What is it? Is it a virtual reality type of thing you wear, or what is it?
Yeah, that type of thing. And Google Glasses is another one you've probably heard of.
I've heard of Google Glass. Yes, I've seen them too.
Yeah, Oculus is another name for a portal. There was a movie that came out about Oculus where the entities come through the mirror, which ties into your Black Mirror thing as well. The mirror is what they look through, a two-sided mirror.
Yeah.
It's to do with portals. And so you just see, and the elite are waiting for the so-called Queen Bee to return to this hive. And it's not a very bright future for people that take the mark. So
the Queen Bee, or is it a matriarchal order we're going to be seeing in the future, or is it more of the patriarchal order? I mean, I know. Well, it's been my philosophy, and I was interviewed with Rolling Stone and several others, and of course Tracy Twyman and I have written a book about it. But it's been my idea and theory that we're going to be seeing perhaps the Antichrist come from the royal family. And
there's a lot of talk about William, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Things like that. And he's 33 soon, by the way. But yeah, there's certainly going to be a lot of deception coming up in the future, and a lot of things posing as the savior from the evil. And it's all going to be the same fallen angels that are just, it's called the Hegelian dialectic.
Yes.
Which is a false battle between good and evil, but it's all evil.
I don't know, you'd probably know this more than me. Would we kind of, I guess, think that the royals themselves are Anglo-Israelis? They believe that they are chosen to lead because of divine right and divine bloodline?
Yeah, so wasn't that the agenda with the Da Vinci Code?
Yeah, pretty much. And the church went to great lengths to try and silence the Da Vinci Code. I mean, much of it was fiction, but the idea of the Merovingian idea of putting a false prophet or at least an antichrist on the throne is still something that has been in the back of my mind for some time. And the idea of the Anglo-Israelism with songs like Jerusalem and others were talking about how Jesus will return to the New Jerusalem, which will be England's green pastures and greener areas. And of course, the idea that he did visit at one time England and Gaul, France, and others, and that he may have descendants has always been something of a European secret that would denote A, that he didn't sacrifice himself for the atonement of the church, and B, that having descendants would kind of, I think, muddy the entire idea of what Christ's church is about, therefore making it counterfeit, creating what we'd call the Antichrist.
Yeah, there's certainly, it's to do with the Templars as well. They think they're of the bloodline of Christ. And did you see that there's a new Solomon's Temple that's been built in Brazil?
No, I haven't seen that.
Near the site of the Olympics. So.
Oh, I haven't seen that at all. So they're doing a duplicate Solomon's Temple near the site of the Olympics?
It's already done, yeah.
Isn't that interesting how they always try to bring the new Zion into the Olympics? You saw how the Olympic in London, when the Olympics had their 2012 logo, and you could reverse it and it would say Zion. And the same thing with the China Olympics. You could arrange all of the letters to spell out Zion again. And then when they built the Olympic Stadium in London, it was built right there on the Greenwich Mean Zero line, meaning there was no time, no space. It was actually a place where a lot of people believed would be a huge ceremony would take place. But there was a ceremony that I remember seeing that was really kind of weird. It was that ceremony with the baby, the sick children dying, and also the great Wizard of Death. It looked like Voldemort that was basically killing all the children. And if you remember, that baby that showed up there at the Olympics, that strange baby, was an indicator that Kate and William were going to have a child, and they did a year later. And then if you look at all of those children that died in that hospital, all wrapped up, they kind of look like the children that died in the Syrian poisonings, where they all had them cocooned in these little sleeping bags and had them dead. So it's some remarkable symbolism that the Olympics and the ritualism that took place in London and other locales, and now they're building Solomon's Temple in Brazil. I find that very interesting.
Yeah, and of course that Olympics ritual, which it was a ritual, was about the New Jerusalem and the green and pleasant land, and the big tree of life on the step pyramid, and the rise of the phoenix at the end.
Oh yeah, and the song that they were singing, when the phoenix was rising in the end was "How to Rule the World."
Yeah, we can rule the world.
We can rule the world. Yeah, it's just creepy. You see that too. That's fascinating. Tonight we have Round Saturn's Eye RSE on the program. Let's go with Jackie in Florida. You're on with RSE. Go ahead.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Doing well, man.
Hey.
Excellent. I just wanted to share my thoughts a little bit on the symbolism that was mentioned earlier. And in my personal opinion, I really feel that all of these things are not subliminal. I just feel as a people, as the American people, we either choose to ignore it or we prefer to remain ignorant and think it's a conspiracy theory. I mean, when you think of
you don't ignore it. Your body, you register it, Jackie, whether you like it or not. These symbols are registered in you, in your subconscious and unconscious mind.
Exactly.
Hidden in plain sight, yeah.
Yeah, everything to the dollar that we use, where, it states in God that we trust, but we see a pyramid and then, the eye of, Osiris, which, represents the sun, and you see all these symbols like, SunTrust in their name, in these logos, PBS, CBS. It's literally right in front of us. There's no reason to hide. It's been there for, thousands of years. And in my personal opinion, I feel all of this ties into what people speak of with the mark of the beast. And, since a couple of years ago when Social Security was, instituted and, people were saying without a Social Security, you can't buy, you can't sell. And this is the mark of the beast, down to credit cards, and then now it's, the RFID. And in my personal opinion, when you read the book and it speaks about it being, on your forehead and in your hand, I believe this is symbolic for what's in your mind and how you live your life, and the hand represents the action of you living according to, not following the truth. And, we're waiting for all these things to be implemented by the government or whatever system is taking place. But in my personal opinion, this stuff is already in act. Like, if you have the mark, you already have it. And that's my personal thought. We shouldn't be waiting for all these technologies. I believe this thing is already in play, especially when you actually study the Hebrew and all these languages, and you realize there is no past tense or future tense. This stuff is written for the now.
Well, I do believe we are. There will be a mark of some sort that will lock us into the flesh cube, and there is no going back.
But see, Jackie has a point too about ritualism. Jackie's talking about how we have the mark, but it has to be activated somehow. And if you remember in the movie AI, even that little boy that she had to sit down with that little boy and she had to recite word for word an incantation to activate him. Now, what would be the incantation that we would have to do to activate our mark if we had it? What would be a pledge that we would have to give? Or what would be a commitment that we had to seal in blood or in spirit, a covenant that had to be made between us and a government in order for us to buy, sell, and trade with the mark of the beast? These are things that a lot of people don't think about.
That's exactly, as you were saying earlier, Clyde, we are all carbon, which is 666, and that's the problem we're in, the trap we're in, and we need to be born again out of the flesh in Christ, and that's what the true way to the Father is.
Jackie, your comment?
Mm-hmm.
What were you saying, Jackie?
Well, my whole thing is I believe, truthfully, it's all of these rituals and traditions and these customs that we follow. The average person wants to be accepted by, not only their family, but, their neighborhood, their society in general, their government, their state. So they don't question things and they don't do research, and they follow what's been taking place without asking, why are we doing it? Why are we observing the calendar the way it is, or, following this 7-day-a-week schedule, and this day is deemed to be the day, that the Father took rest, or all of these customs and traditions. No one really takes the time and the research to really do. And this is stuff that our forefathers have done for thousands of years, and why they were punished, and we're just repeating history. And like I said, this is just my personal opinion.
Good stuff, Jackie.
But what you said earlier really touched me when you were explaining about the body and the 3 sixes in the body, and we're a living soul. As it states, when he breathed the breath of life, into Adam, man became a living soul.
Right.
We're a living soul. What we take in, what's in our thoughts. For instance, in the scriptures, when it speaks about your heart, or is telling you things like think with your heart. I mean, scientifically, that can't be done. Your heart is an organ that pumps the blood that circulates in your body. You can't think with your heart. Emotions do not come.
But they say that. But Jackie, you need to remember the heart and the brain at one time they thought were connected. And if you take a look at ancient Egyptian lore, Seth weighs your heart with a feather to see if your heart is heavier than feather. If it is, you go to hell. And so there's something about it, Jackie, something metaphoric and strange. Round Saturn's Eye with us tonight on Ground Zero RSC. Just a very popular YouTube channel. We're very happy to have him on. It's a rare way to get him on. Got him on. We'll be back with more. Keep it here. Don't go away.
Back to Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis on FM News 101.
Is not a test. It is the future. Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
We have Round Saturn's Eye with us tonight on Ground Zero RSC. We go down to John calling in from New Jersey. Hi, John. You're on Ground Zero. Go ahead.
Hey, Clyde, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Hey, I'm just glad you're healthy and you're there, because without you, seriously, we'd all be in a mess.
Thank you.
I was talking to your screener before about the angels coming down. They're all against us. They're the ones that are ruling us. And talking with your show tonight, I'm way behind because I listen to you on SoundCloud. I work construction, and so we're kind of a little bit behind with the winter, everything. Summertime, we're all caught up, and Sundays I go into DTs, but no, you're amazing. But we are really in a bad time.
So you're saying that there are fallen angels that are trying to communicate with us, John? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think they're ruling us. I think they're the ones that are in charge.
Let's ask RSC. Let's ask RSC. Do you think that we have the ruling elite or fallen angels, or at least they're speaking or answering to the wrong gods or the wrong morality?
I think they're the top dogs of the human element, but they serve the Luciferian light, and that's their hope. And they're going to counterfeit the return of Jesus. They're going to stage the return of Jesus. Like, we call it the Illuminati Jesus.
So they're going to stage a counterfeit Jesus. It'll be Illuminati Jesus. And is that why they're clearing the way? I mean, you see the Pope saying things like he's saying, talking about, welcome the aliens. If you're an atheist, you'll still go to heaven, and all these things. He's making reforms. Do you think there's going to be some sort of I guess you could call it a partnership or some sort of handshake where most of the religions will get together and welcome this counterfeit Jesus?
Yeah, most religions of this world are expecting this figure. We've got the Mahdi in Muslim, Islamic. We've got the Jewish prophecy of the coming two messiahs. And so a lot of religions are tying into the same thing, and they will see this figure as the return of Jesus. Even the Quran has Jesus returning in the end with Mahdi. And it's going to be a complete falsity. The real Christ lived 2,000 years ago, and he's the only truth. So...
Well, RSE, fantastic show tonight, and I'm hoping a lot of people go to your YouTube channel. It's called Round Saturn's Eye, and hopefully we can have you on the show again when you produce some more videos, and maybe if you have any other thoughts, just keep in touch with us. Love to have you on again. You're a remarkable guest, and it was good talking to you, getting to know you a little bit.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege. Keep going with what you're doing. It's great.
Thank you so much. You have a great night, and thank you for being a part of this program, RSE.
You too.
Take care.
You.
And that's, of course, RSE, Round Saturn's Eye, a YouTube phenomenon. Actually, it's just taking off. A lot of people going to this site, getting information about subliminals and all kinds of craziness happening. And a lot of innocuous things like commercials and music and cartoons and things that are normally for children. But we're seeing a lot of strange things coming out. He thinks that, we're seeing this as channels, possible channeling, possible unwittingly happening. But maybe it's on purpose, maybe not. Has there ever been something that you've watched or seen on television that has struck you as a little odd and you'd like to talk about it? 888-673-3700. It's 888-673-3700. We'll be back with more. Keep it here on Ground Zero. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.